Call the October 6, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order at 5:36 PM. Mr. John Atkinson, please call the roll.
Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Present.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Present.
Commissioner Carney.
Present.
Commissioner Longino.
Present.
Commissioner Agee.
Present.
Vice Chair Smith. Chair Crossy.
Present.
For the record, a quorum is present with 8 commissioners in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. If you will, please stand while Commissioner Rhodes will give the invocation and Commissioner Longino will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me. Our Lord, thank you for this day and this opportunity again to serve. Lord, we pray as you will just continue to guide us in our community and all the growth that has gone on and is continuing to go on. Pray that you'll just guide us to make the right decisions, both here at this board, the city council, and all the other boards, and with our community itself. Lord, continue to pray for our country as we go through change, and just guide us in all we do and say. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. We will now confirm the meeting agenda items. Are there any questions or comments? If there are no objections, we will approve the meeting agenda items by unanimous consent. Since there is no objection, the meeting agenda items are approved by unanimous consent. We will move on to item 4, which is the election of chair and vice chair. Election of chair and reseating. I have a nomination for chair.
He's not here.
That's what happened last time, so you can't vice chair.
I make a motion, or I nominate Commissioner Greg Rhodes for the chair position.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Krause and a second by Commissioner Longino to recommend Commissioner Rhodes for the position of chair. John, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes, so.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Longino.
Aye.
Commissioner Agee.
Aye.
Chair Crossy.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
We'll now go to the election of vice chair. Is there a motion or nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Jeremy Jurasik.
A motion has been made by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Carney to recommend Commissioner Jeremy Jurasik for the position of vice chair. John, may we have a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Jurasik.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney. Commissioner Longino.
Aye.
Commissioner Agee.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. Motion carries.
Oh, we're doing it now.
Yep.
Sorry. Like, oh, we're doing it now.
The new
Says and
commissioner
receding.
takes over this, correct? That's what I figured.
I guess I get to read the.
Okay, we're just gonna train. My purse is down there.
You're good.
Here's your pen. Do you have a
I've got
pen?
one, yeah. Okay, where are you at in this thing? Okay, got it.
Got it?
All right, with this newly appointed, we'll move on to the regular agenda, I believe. Am I right? I'm trying to get organized.
Should be public comments.
Public comments.
Okay. Sorry. Are there any public comments at this time? If so, please come forward to the mic, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent items. On the consent agenda, approval, item number 4, the September 15th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments toward that? No questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion for approval as presented.
First by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Carney. All right. I got to get organized, sorry. All right, now we will move on to our public hearing. Item number 6, FY 25-3 AMND. We're going to read all 3 of them, correct?
If we can do a quick vote for the.
What did I not vote for? Oh,
The consent agenda.
all right, sorry, Mr. Atkins, can we call for a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Commissioner Longino.
Aye.
Commissioner Ag.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jurasik.
Aye.
Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous. Motion
All right.
carries.
Sorry about that. I'm out of practice. Okay, so items 6, 7, and 8, do I need to read all 3 together?
Yes.
Okay. All right, item number 6, FY-25-3 AMND, hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on an amendment to ordinance 2020-5061, City of Temple Comprehensive Plan 2020, to amend the future development category from residential and neighborhood services to corridor mixed use on 229.361 acres located in the City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 8930 and 9018 Old Highway 95. Item number 7, FY-25-33-AMND, hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on the amendment to Ordinance 2020-561, City of Temple Comprehensive Plan 2020, to amend the future thoroughfare plan in the area south of FM 93. And then item number 8, FY-29-29-ZC, hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a plan, on a rezoning request and binding site development plan for agriculture to plan development, single-family dwelling, 3, PDSF 3, for a mixed-use development with a minimum 40% of land area detached single-family homes, maximum of 10% for townhouse, single-family attached 3, SFA 3, maximum 25%, for multifamily 2, MF2, and maximum of 25% for general retail, with additional uses for GR portion to include drive-in theater, movie storage, warehouse, vertical mixed use with multifamily 3, MF3, and conditional use permit, CUP, in the GR portion for the sale on the premise consumption of alcoholic beverages with 75% or more of revenue from alcohol on the 229.361 acres located in the City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 8930 and 9018 Old Highway 95. The case will be presented by Cheryl Maxwell and Jason Beckton.
Right, thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Chair Rhodes. We will be doing a tag team approach for this, so I'm going to go ahead and start out with the zoning case. This is scheduled to go to the council reading, first reading October the 16th, and the second reading November the 6th. So this shows the location of the property. This is on the west side of Old Highway 95, and it's bordered on the west side by the railroad tracks. It's located way south. You can see the bubbles here would be the edge of our ETJ area. sorry, back over there. The area is primarily large acreage, either cultivated land or undeveloped. Cultivated land or undeveloped. There are some residential subdivisions in the area. On the north side, you've got Chimney Hill subdivision. On the south, you've got the Cotton Bottom Estates, which is undergoing development. And then over on the west side, you have the Hartrig Ranch development. Again, the area is primarily either cultivated land. On the tract itself, the southern part is cultivated and the northern part is undeveloped. There is a residence located on the property. So these are some photos of the property. On the north side, again, you got the cultivated land. On the south, on the north side, you got undeveloped land. On the south, you got cultivated land. And then in between, this is the residence with some storage silos. There are some trees on the property. This is actually, I think, the only place where there are some trees because it's quite large, and this is the only trees. This is the view from the railroad tracks on the west side. And again, that portion of the property towards the south is cultivated. The adjacent properties to the north, you can see the fence line there. This is undeveloped way towards the backside. There's some cultivated land. And this is a residence that's also located on the property to the north. The adjacent property to the south, again, where you have kind of close to the railroad tracks, the land is undeveloped. And the adjacent property to the west, you get the railroad tracks again, and again, some cultivated land on the west side of the railroad tracks. And properties on the east side of Old 95, primarily cultivated land. There is a residence, there's like a private drive that stretches pretty far to the east side where you'll find a residence. This is a shot of the Chimney Hill subdivision to the north, and then these are pictures of the Cotton Bottom Estates. So the zoning of the property is currently ag. The property on the west side of the railroad track, there's a portion zoned ag, also PDSF2 that kind of goes with the residential subdivision. This property is actually owned by the city of Temple. It's proposed for a future park. This is a mixed-use development. It'll include single-family homes, townhomes, multifamily, and general retail. So this is the site plan. You've got SF3, minimum 40% will be shown here in the light brown areas. SFA3 for the townhomes is shown in the dark brown areas. The townhomes will be part of the MF, part of the single-family 3, part of the light brown areas. That will be incorporated with the single-family 3. The multifamily is shown in the dark brown, and that's a maximum 25%. And then the general retail is shown in red. That's also a maximum 25%. There's some additional uses that are proposed to be allowed in the general retail area. This includes an outdoor theater, vertical mixed use with MF3 density. Typically, the MF3 density allows up to 40 dwelling units per acre and a height up to 10 stories. However, there's a PD condition that would limit the height to a maximum of 5 stories. And then also in the GR area, they're requesting a CUP to allow the sale of all alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption. So the total multifamily that would be allowed on the property between the MF2 and the MF3 combined would be limited to 25% of the land area. The townhomes, the attached homes would be, generally they have a minimum lot area of, the requirement is 2,300 square feet. There's a PD condition that would allow this to be reduced to 2,000 square feet. And then again, you have the CUP for on-premise sale and consumption of all alcoholic beverages in the GR portion. The applicant is requesting the alcohol sales comprising more than 75% of the total revenue, which we talked a little bit about, which is more like a bar setting. Staff is recommending a lesser category comprising the sales of the alcohol comprising up to 75% of the total revenue, which again is more like a restaurant setting. Staff has concerned with the GR area with no restrictions on the bar type use. You've got 57 acres. Could allow any number of bars. Perhaps there's a PD condition that could limit the number or some other restriction that would give you a little bit more comfort level, but that's primarily the reason staff is recommending the up to 75% total revenue instead of over 75%. So there's several charts and tables in your packet. This one compares the different uses that are allowed in the different zoning districts. I'm just not really going to cover that. There's also dimensional standards, and again, I want to point out for the MF2 and the MF3. MF2 allows a height up to 4 stories. MF3 would allow 10 stories, but there is a PD condition that would limit that to 5. And then general retail is allowed to go up to 3 stories. This is a chart that's also in your packet. We do this with all the PDs. Just want to note that the conditions are either satisfied now or they will be reviewed and satisfied in the future with the site plan review and the subdivision plat. And this chart basically compares the different zoning districts and the dwelling units that would be allowed to kind of come up with the total dwelling units possible. We break down the different zoning districts, the area requirement, basically the percentages that the PD is establishing. We calculated what that would be in acreage, and then the number of dwelling units per acre. We've listed here what's typical for those zoning districts and kind of did the math. So you come up with a ballpark figure. This range is basically depending upon there's flexibility, so how the property is developed. You could have a minimum of 1,700 dwelling units up to about 3,700 dwelling units. And do want to note that these calculations are based on straight acreage. We didn't subtract areas for the parks, open areas, or, right-of-way, that sort of thing. So this is just a very rough estimate. And I'll switch over to Jason and let him talk a little bit about the traffic analysis.
All right, so this is the first round where I'll tag in. So starting from that theoretical density that Cheryl showed, I started looking at, what's some expected uses between the mix of the general retail, the types of residential that could go in there, and come up with some trip generation. And what you'll see is that the existing capacity for Old Highway 9, theoretically, it's an arterial. In actual life, in actual reality, it's not built as an arterial. So it really has a capacity of around 2,600 daily trips. Theoretically, an arterial would go up to 24,000. It's not an arterial now. We'd like to see that it would become that either through this project or another phase or potential capital improvement project. But we're looking at well over 20,000 trips of this development. Now, that said, I'm not an engineer and I'm also not a crystal ball reader. So that's an educated guess. What actually comes out of here is going to really be dependent on the mix and the type of uses. Mini storage, for example, was one of the allowances. That's not a high traffic generator. A restaurant or a big box retail or a fast food restaurant is going to drive a lot more traffic. We just don't know what those uses will be till Mr. Keela does his job. At the end, it's expected to exceed the capacity of the road, which is one of the reasons you're going to look at the thoroughfare plan amendments here shortly. As far as crash history, there isn't a lot of traffic on that road to generate a lot of crash history other than the intersection with 93 and Old Highway 95. If you lived in this area, that's been a problem for a long time, and there is a traffic signal coming there in the near future. Mr. Sisko over there has been working with the city engineer staff and with TxDOT to get those designs moved forward so that traffic signal can be constructed. And that's based on the first phase that came in, the new Temple ISD school. Y'all may remember there was a rezoning and preliminary plat in that area, as well as the development on the north side for Leon River, that those two residential developments and the school, at some point, depending on which one comes first, there's definitely going to be a need for two signals. This one at at Old 95 and 93 will be the one that comes first. So that one's already in the pipeline for design to address some of those crashes on that map. There have been fatalities in the past. When I did the selection for the last 5 years, fortunately, there have not been, but I know that is a hot spot that we'll all be glad to see that signal come in. So let's talk about this specific phase with that need for the additional capacity. And this was part of the proposal from the developer, was to add a collector that you see that runs from the southeast and then veers to the north, and an arterial that's going to cross the property and eventually cross that railroad. That's going to provide some east-west capability, and that collector is going to run north through the other phases, the ones that have been approved and future ones that are coming. That's going to give you some additional capacity off of 95. You'll be able to run north and south without having to go out to the main road. So that, just having those two options is going to be an improvement on traffic. But to get there, we have a thoroughfare plan amendment that started from this area, and then we'll look at the bigger picture. So, as I said, Old Highway 95, it's not currently listed as a CIP project. Staff is evaluating, how that can be improved. There's agreement across the board that the improvement's going to be necessary. So we're not going to pin ourselves down one way or the other at the rezoning stage, but just get on the map that it's needed. The new thoroughfares will address some of the impact. And then compliance with the residential subdivision, given the number of dwellings, the number of businesses, and how those local streets feed onto those collectors, that'll get evaluated at the plat stage, very similar to what we did with another recent large residential mixed-use development on the north side, which was Severny Ranch. We evaluated how the collectors were going to cross through that, and then how each phase, how many entrances were going to be off those collectors. This will be evaluated the same way. So as the residential part comes in, when we look at that safety fire access question, is there going to be, or will there be enough entrances that we don't create a bottleneck, we don't create a delay in the first responders? And with the rezoning, there's also a Trails Master Plan connector shown along Old Highway 95. Part of the subdivision plan for this one is those two collectors, the collector and the arterial, that you saw on the site plan will have minimum 6-foot sidewalks. That'll provide some of the necessary pedestrian connectivity in this area as well as with adjacent phases. Now I'll hand it back over to Cheryl.
So with regard to utilities, there is an existing 8-inch water line along Old Highway 95, and there is existing sewer line at the southwest corner there. So the applicant has facilities available. They'll have to, make connections, extensions in line with the water wastewater master plan. And on the compliance summary, with regard to the future development plan and the thoroughfare plan, we feel this is in compliance with approval of the two amendments that are before you. It's compatible with surrounding uses and zoning, public facilities are available, and there is no neighborhood plan in this area. So the comp plan amendments to the future land use and the thoroughfare plan are again the same schedule as the zoning case, moved to the council, first reading October the 16th and second on November the 6th. And I think Jason's going to cover this. Great.
So those you were here in 2020, we adopted the 2020 comprehensive plan that included the future land use and the thoroughfare plan. In this case, it was this phase specifically that started the discussion, but we'd been looking at that area with the first phase of Meadow Lake and that new school as we looked at the preliminary plat, and you can see on the map how that collector kind of wraps around. So we've been looking at this for a minute, and this development and then the guidance from city manager's office about how we're going to handle these thoroughfare plan and comp plan amendments. This will be the first case of bringing these forward as a package. So with the comp plan on the left-hand side, it's specifically for that phase to recommend that change to a corridor mixed use. The area is shown as residential neighborhood services. But there's some mixed use activities, and a lot of this is going to be residential, but given that this project had the mixed use component, let's bring that into more close compliance with the comp plan. So that is just going to be the phase you see highlighted in the hashed area on the map. So the residential and neighborhood service allows single family up to 4plexes. The commercial uses, the multifamily uses might not be appropriate, but the corridor mixed use starts to open that gate just a little bit wider. And then you can have those uses in close proximity, which is a great traffic reducer. You don't have to take a trip clear across town if you're right there between your restaurant, your shopping, your school, and your homes. We do feel that the residential neighborhood service around this area for now is appropriate. If another project comes in that may change that thinking, that may promote a mix of uses, we may come back. But for the time being, this comp plan amendment is just for the phase 3 of Meadow Lake. With the thoroughfare plan, obviously, you're looking at how traffic gets in and out of this neighborhood and how it interacts with the rest of the roadway network. So we took a little bit wider view, grabbed our wide-angle lens and looked at the map. Had some great discussions with Mr. Keela and with Mr. Cisco over there. What does that look like? So you can see, this is what the current thoroughfare map shows. There is, if you can follow, and I'm sorry, Mr. Agee, you're going to have to crane your neck if you want to follow. But we've got 2 community collectors over on the west side of the railroad. We've got Old 95, which is an arterial. We have an arterial to the south, and we had this collector, which cut across diagonally and eventually veered over to to State Highway 95, which made sense. It's got some good spacing. As you increase density, you start to increase the spacing or decrease the spacing of your collectors and arterials. So when this was laid out on the map, the area was fairly undeveloped. There wasn't a lot going on. Now that there's more stuff happening, it does change the thinking, and let's rearrange it a little bit. So what we've done is, as you can see, this matches where that site plan showed that collector, and this runs all the way up to where that second signal will come in the future. We're adding a collector. It still follows this alignment, but now we've got 2, and this will lead across. Realigns it a little bit, but keeps the same general concept. We're moving this arterial and we're extending it, so now you've got 2 arterials fairly close together, but given the density, it makes sense. And this is one of those things where thoroughfare planning is as much of an art as it is a science. So we're taking this collector, and that comes down, that arterial comes up, but now we've got an arterial through fairly well the center of what's becoming a dense residential area with some mixed commercial uses. Thank you. As we're changing our policy for how we do these thoroughfare plans, I've come up with what I'm going to call the 4 Cs. And it's just a way of having a method to look at, why are we changing this? Does this make sense? Is this going to work? So the first one is constructability. Is there something that, this doesn't make sense? You're not going to be able to build a road across, down a bluff, through a massive floodplain, through part of Fort Hood or part of our airport, something that, that there's just very little control over that land, allowing you to build that road through there. So these are all deemed constructible. Does it provide the necessary connectivity? And that goes to increasing the network, but also the spacing. Like I said, as this density increases, then those arterials start to squeeze closer together, and we add more collectors, as you can see. So we've added the connectivity. Is it conducive to the character? Is an arterial right next to your home appropriate? Possibly. It's definitely appropriate where you have a mix of commercial and residential uses, that multifamily, the retail, whether that's restaurants or shops or other businesses. Then that arterial, as it crosses the railroad right away, it does start to make sense with that character. And then the capacity, are we providing enough roadways at the right classification that'll have enough lane miles to handle the traffic that's going to be generated? And we think the answer to those 4 is yes. So that being said, staff recommends approval of the future land use map amendment, and staff recommends approval of the thoroughfare plan amendment. However, this is all a big package, and we did send out notifications for the amendments. The notices property owners is not required for the comp plan amendments for the thoroughfare plans, but it is required for the zoning case, and Cheryl's going to take back over for me.
So for the zoning case, notice of the public hearing was printed in the Telegram on September the 25th. Notices were mailed to 3 property owners in the city limits, and those are actually city ownership. And then there were 3 courtesy notices to the ETJ properties. The school districts were also notified, and we've not received any response. The DRC did review this on August the 18th, and their recommendations were incorporated into the PD conditions. So we're recommending approval of the zoning case and the site development plan subject to 15 conditions of approval. And again, as we mentioned, the applicant does not concur with the CUP recommendation, which is number 14, and is requesting 75% of our revenue from alcohol sales. So there's 15 conditions. I'm not going to go through all of them. Most of them have, or several of them have been covered in the presentation, so I'm just going to point out those that we haven't talked about. Do want to point out on the GR portion with the vertical mixed use that's proposed, again, that would be a combination of multifamily, general retail, but the building height would be limited to 5 stories, and then the MF3, again, limited to 5 stories. I want to touch on 7, 8, and 9. These all involve rear parking and access. So for the residential lots, which is the SF3 and the SFA3, there's a requirement that a maximum of 50% of the building coverage has to be preserved in the rear half of the property. This is being waived if parking and access is provided at the rear of the lot. Front yard setback for residential lots may be reduced to 10 feet if parking and, again, access is provided at the rear of the lot. And townhomes require rear parking access unless the lot widths are 25 feet or more. And then landscaping, typically the landscaping requirement in our UDC is a minimum 5%. This requires a minimum 10% for non-residential and multifamily uses. Also requires a minimum of 1 tree in the front yards of the residential lots, and preservation of the existing trees is recommended. Screening and buffering is required between single-family residential uses and adjacent multifamily or non-residential uses, either with a solid fence or a masonry wall or a vegetative buffer zone. And then, again, here we talk about the approval of the CUP in the GR area, recommending less than 75% of the total gross revenue. And then the planning director may approve minor changes. Major significant changes would have to come back through the P&Z and the city council. And the DRC will be basically has the authority to review and approve the detailed site plan and elevations for the non-residential and multifamily uses, with discretion to refer to public site plan approval by the P&Z and the city council. So moving forward, we'll come to, you can ask any questions, but when you are ready to move forward, this will be a combined public hearing, but you'll need to vote on each one of these separately. So,
Okay.
and Jason and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions or comments?
Let me make one addition to Cheryl's too. You can go back to,
Sure.
just to make sure that, you know, for y'all and anyone who's watching. Well, the previous slide, you'll have to make the motions for the thoroughfare and comp plan amendments first, then the
Right.
zoning, so that you're approving the zoning based on the approval of the amendments.
Right.
Thank you.
Would you like those questions for all of those beforehand, or?
I think the
so,
whole
yeah.
thing goes together, so
Yeah.
fire away.
Yeah, so from this board, any any questions or comments?
I have a question about your recommendation of the 75%. That is simply so that someone can't go out and build 10 bars out there? Is that what?
I think
What we're
that's,
thinking.
one, you've got 57 acres, and again, the applicant may want to address that, but there's, right now, there's no restrictions. You've got 57 acres, and, I mean, granted, there won't be next to any schools, there's certain restrictions for that, but, you know, we know he's responsible, but it just felt like there should be some, we'd be comfortable with the restaurant use because it's not like a full-fledged bar, but we feel like there should be some limitation, or, you know, if you want to go with the full bar, some sort of limitation on it.
Before John comes up, is there anybody else?
I'll say typically with a CUP, it's for one specific, whether it's a liquor store or one restaurant or a bar. So you're looking at specific characteristics of that site, the surrounding neighborhood. You know, in this case, it's worked well in Westfield. I've done plenty of drinking at Boulder Republic and a few other places. Not to say that there haven't been some hiccups and some challenges with some of the locations. So in this case, by giving the blanket CUP for over 75%, staff's thinking is that removes maybe that layer of oversight scrutiny that might be necessary. But
Okay.
it has worked well. So it's a case of how risk averse do we want to be as staff and as elected and appointed officials? I think that's what we're getting at.
And again, so city council at any time can pull a CUP, and wouldn't, any time they're ready to build buildings, we'll have to see a plat and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, CUPs can be revoked if it no longer fits the character.
they have to make some findings, but that's all there is.
I mean, yeah, okay.
So this does require a public hearing, but before we do that, because we're not going to give a necessary time limit, I'm going to ask Mr. Keeler to come up and tell us a little bit about the project and if this is going to be a Adams number 2. Just kidding.
Thank you, John Keela. I live at 11122 White Rock. Number one, I thank you for your service. Having sat there before, I know what it takes to sit behind there. Also would like to thank staff. They put a lot of hours into working this particular piece of a very large puzzle that you will see us come with over the next 6 months. I'm in control of about 1,000 acres. So across the tracks, you've already seen the Hartrick Bluff, and we're connecting that with an arterial, but we have concentrated our housing on the west side of the tracks and the east, really concentrating in 2 areas where we're gonna concentrate our retail, like I did at Westfield. I'm in control of where that retail is gonna be. We will own those properties, so we control them. We pretty much develop them and make sure what we'll be putting in those areas. The reason I like the 100% is because then I can declare to everyone that we'll have bars there. You never really know where it is. That's your biggest problem. Bold Republic, I made sure that I had that CUP there, and when the church came to me and said, can I locate my church there? I said, I got to declare to you guys that we could be building a bar here. And it was great when Bold built that Austin stood up at the church and said, hey, you guys weren't supporting us because Keela told us from the beginning that bar was going to be there. Full disclosure, transparency is what keeps people from standing in front of you and say, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you let us know? I've done that CUPs on the front end always so that I can do one thing, be honest with the people, the houses we're building. People can say, look, I'm telling you right from the front, we're going to have a bar there. I located the school, TISD, currently working with the academy for multiple locations. I've located this core, if you'll notice, in the center of the high school academy and the BIS or the TISD property. So we think 20 years out. I don't really look at stuff at a single little piece here. This thoroughfare plan we've laid out, I paid a lot of money to make sure that those lines are there, and I control the property so that that's where they're going to be. They're not that pretty line on paper you see. Those will be built really close to that. And so I'll answer any question I can do.
So John, what's the goal for 95? I mean, do you have the vision of making it kind of like an Adams 2?
They do. You got major power lines on both sides. It's a little tight. That's why I've controlled everything to go over to 95, not old 95. So I think your east-west is where we're going to carry the traffic. There's a possibility they'll try to move some major power lines that run up and down there. I don't see me doing that. And so for me, I'm not sure. It'll act as a good collector. I'm not so sure it'll be the main arterial. We're going to have a lot of time to button this up. See, we're in zoning, and it's just the way the process goes here. You got to get your comp plan, you got to get your thoroughfare plan, then you got to get your zoning so that I can bring a plat. And this is a 20-year project. I mean, Westfield, you guys have been out there. I mean, you guys, this is a long-term project, and the land, what I do is we've really not done as many of the little teeny ones anymore. I go in and buy 1,000 acres, try to set where the church is going to be, where's the school going to be, where's the restaurant's going to be, and where's the bar. But you can't tell exactly where it is, so it's just easier to declare today. Say, hey, guys, I'm going to have a bar there. The rest is, just a little bit of faith. Do you have faith in me? And that's a tough one. I mean, the city can pull a CUP anytime they want. To me, there's a problem out there that it's not like a zoning case to where you won't. It's harder to do it. They can just, in a single vote, sit right behind there and say, look, we don't like, he's got too many bars, we're going to pull him. So I appreciate your.
As of now, it's going to be AISD and TISD, right?
Splits this tract of land. And
It splits
we've
it.
worked really hard in my development plan to try to locate that so that I don't have any houses split. You probably don't know this, but like out at Westfield, I literally had to go to BISD and TISD and make sure that there was no kid that ended up in both school systems. By law, it's where the kid sleeps, right? think of that one, taxing and everything, they do it by bedrooms. And so for us, we make sure that we look at that line, I lay my streets out. And if we get into a situation where I have a house that's split, I will be in front of the TISD and the AISD and say, guys, let's make sure that we do this right. And so our family tries to be way out 10 years, not look at 100 lot subdivision and, not, let everybody else worry about it. I've worked with the chief of fire. We got a location for a fire department there. It will be on their plat and it will be sold in day one. He's really excited to know where that fire station is going to be in the south so we can locate it. I've worked with him on the other 13 also. So, we spend a lot of time trying to make Temple the place to be, as you know. My heart's here and we'll do the right thing.
And last thing on, because I was on this board when Adams came on board, and you did the CUP the way you're asking for it to be done
Yeah.
at that time, right?
This almost mirrors Westfield.
Right, it
It's
does.
just what we've done. And there's a lot of weird little things like a drive-in, but I've also, if you're gonna go out there and even just have a movie theater, a small one, just where cars can pull up, I've tried to think out in front and spent a lot of time in Colorado, spent a lot of time in Palm Springs, spent a lot of time in Austin, and you look at what can be if Temple is gonna be all it can be, and I try to make sure that I don't have to come back here. Vertical zoning's tough. We can do a restaurant below or, office below and put houses above, and we're making that change. You've seen townhomes. Some of the first ones are on Westfield Boulevard, and crazy, we have done them not as a unit, but as a lot in hopes that someday we could sell them. So those that I built there on Westfield Boulevard, I leased them all out as units, but sold 4 buildings. Of those 4 buildings, 80% of them have been sold as single units now. So if you followed that, so people are now buying townhomes in Temple, Texas. So we're going to push that envelope. We'd like to do a Texas wrap here if it works, but if it doesn't, it's hard. We're constantly pushing Temple, Texas. It's being pushed, to be honest with you. We're trying to stay up with the pressure from the south. So the buyers that are really coming into Temple, Texas are a little bit more sophisticated than what we've seen in the past. So I'm trying to keep my zoning, my developments, and our vision in line with what we are going to see, I think, in the future.
So everybody on Westfield, he asked for it the same way that he's asking for it to be approved tonight. And so, to be honest with churches or whatever the case may be.
It's
So,
just
yeah.
the best way to be transparent.
But that's not what you're asking for.
That's not what I'm asking for. That's what the
What-
city's
what
asking
the city's
for.
asking for is less than 75%. He's asking for
More than 75.
So I can, just the transparency. It's just a CUP too. It's very different than the zoning. Zoning,
Correct.
you can always build a restaurant. You're declaring that, and so.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, this case also requires a public hearing. We will now hear from the public. If you wish to come and speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and if you are viewing online, please raise your hand virtually and state your name and city of residence for the record. Mr. Allen?
Alan Lytle, I live here in Temple, and I just have a real quick question. There's several of the thoroughfares and, what'd you call the other thing? Huh?
The future land use?
Yeah, the side of the thoroughfare was it's arterial.
Oh, sorry.
Some of the arterials are gonna cross the, railroad tracks. I know we've gone into a lot of trouble in the city here to remove those crossings and put in bridges. And I also know that those things are very, very expensive. But the question is, are we gonna put bridges over the railroad tracks, not just simply crossings with, crossing guards?
Okay. Cheryl, Jason?
I'm gonna look at Mr. Cisco over there. I know we've talked or John, whoever wants to maybe share more detail. Yeah, I think we would prefer not to have the at grade, but
At some point, when you're gonna connect those together, it's gonna be an elevated section.
just so for those on the record, he did say that the goal is to have an elevated crossing, to not have the at grade just because of the conflicts.
And those are active railroad tracks, I guess.
Those are active, busy tracks, yes, sir.
Okay.
Just to be clear, none of those proposed crossings are on this property we're even talking about, right?
It does border.
It does, it borders it.
No, it runs to the north on that track. And to be clear,
We go to the-
Jason, you know, one of the good things about the development standards is that developers don't have to build arterials. So I wasn't sure that you were being smart by saying, he's on record saying, section, right? Yeah, I don't build arterials, but I mean, they build.
Enough
I
said.
don't sign checks, so I'm not saying anything either.
You can look, we're way out in front of this.
Yes, sir.
One of the great things in working, I should be up there, but one of the great things in working with the city of Temple in my projects, you guys, we're 10 years out. We're going to make sure we have good traffic flow into there. That's gonna be an important east-west arterial someday. I was here 25 years ago, and I think Cheryl was too, so her and I carry this same deal on arterial A that should have been built, and it never got built because we didn't get out in front of it. And that's over there between Fifth Street, 31st. That arterial should have been built, and it never was because we didn't get it on a plan and have enough intestinal fortitude to make sure we could get it done. They've been doing a heck of a job, they, the city council and this city, in making sure their arterials are built in the right places.
Do you know what the right-of-way is for the railroad there?
I don't off the top of my head, Dave. About 100 feet is what I'm being told. And Cheryl, you went out and took the photos, but I think you can kind of see it on the aerial that farm lane is on the southern boundary, is that correct?
Is that on the west of the railroad track?
The one that, yeah, where there's that little dirt. Is that on the southern boundary?
Oh, that's the
of
southern, yeah.
this? Yeah.
There's a little dirt path that crosses the
Yeah,
railroad.
there's just a crossing for the farm vehicles. But that's on the southern end, and you saw on the site plan that arterial is gonna be at the northern end. So it would be a different location that if you started looking at aerial photos today and you found the existing crossing, the future arterial is gonna be a different spot. I think, was that your question?
No, I just know that if it's gonna go over the tracks into 75-foot right-of-way, 100-foot right-of-way, then that lead up to that is gonna be into your property. That's all I was just trying to
Right.
figure out.
I've worked really close with the
Railroad.
current ones and know exactly what it would take to do it. So, just make sure we have the right. That east-west over that track isn't gonna be as important as getting us over to 95. When you look what's west, you're not gonna go much further than the Fifth Street that's gonna come there. I mean, it's just gonna give one more alternative. But in real terms, when you look at where it's, the most important is getting over to 95.
Okay.
They show it all the way over to Hartford, in my opinion, at some particular point, you'll probably go to a roundabout there at Fifth Street. Fifth Street's the north-south that goes into Hartford. So we're gonna stick a roundabout there, and probably from that roundabout towards Hartford, I think it'll end up being a community collector. Doesn't make much sense, all you're doing is taking the traffic and trying to get them 95 to Houston, but they're gonna be able to go up Fifth Street.
All right, if there's no other comments, we're going to close the public hearing. And if there are any more questions for this board, and again, two different ways to look at this. Mr. Keela is asking for it as 100% or however it's worded. Greater than 75. And the P and Z guys are asking for, sorry,
Staff?
you know what I'm saying, as asking for less than 75. So which, I'm gonna ask for a motion from somebody, and let me know. We'll go from there.
So we have to approve the two amendments first, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yes.
should we just go
You want to
through
do
that?
those first and then go to that?
Go ahead
Yeah,
and
I
do the
make a
amendment.
motion to approve the two amendments, FY 25-3 and FY 25-33 as presented.
Mr. Carney, do both of them?
I'm okay with that for the amendments, yes.
Okay, and second. All right, so on both amendments, Commissioner Carney and then Commissioner Agee for a second. Can we call for a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Carney,
Aye.
Commissioner Longino,
Aye.
Commissioner Adgie,
Aye.
Commissioner Krause,
Aye.
Vice Chair Jurassic,
Aye.
Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous, the motion carries.
Okay, now I will entertain a motion for item number 8, FY 25-29-ZC. And,
I'm good going.
okay,
That's what I make a motion I'm making. I make a motion to approve item FY 25 29 CC as presented, with the one change being approving a CUP greater than 75%. Is that right?
yeah.
That is
We
correct.
have a motion for greater than 75, as Mr. Keela has requested. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Agee is a second, so can we call for a vote?
Commissioner Morales,
Aye.
Commissioner Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic,
Aye.
Commissioner Longino,
Aye.
Commissioner Agee,
Aye.
You skipped Carney.
Commissioner Carney,
Aye.
You got your name right.
Chair Krause,
Aye.
Chair Rhodes.
Aye. All right, I think we're good.
Vote
Thank
is
you.
unanimous, and the motion carries.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to item number 6, FY-25-36 PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Wildflower Trails Phase 1, a 41.857 acre, 138 lot, 8 block, 3 track residential subdivision situated in the Nancy Chance Survey Abstract Number 5, City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, identified as a tax appraisal parcel as ID 53184 and address as 990 South Cakeley. Case will be presented by Mr. Jason Deckman.
John, could you bring up the presentation, please? All right, thank you. All right, so we'll get right into the overview and location. You can see on the lower left, the map showing I-35 to the south, Loop 363 to the east, and the rest of the residential areas in West Temple surrounding this. On the Google Earth oblique view, great tool, lets you tilt the screen and pivot the view around. So this gives you a better example of, or a better sense of the cropland that's there now, the undeveloped land, and the golf course pretty much directly across the street. And you can then see the highway on the other side of Wildflower. Adams or FM 2305 to the north. You can see some of the existing commercial, the new apartment complexes, and some of the other residential areas. And then you can see where the dark area, the foliage, where Pepper Creek runs right down diagonally through this area. So this is 41 acres, 138 lots. It's 137 residential lots, 1 non-residential, and that non-residential is out at the corner of the new thoroughfare that's coming across. So this was the 2024 PD ordinance, what Brian referred to. We call it the Trojan Tract. They since renamed, when it came through as the preliminary plat, to call it Wildflower Trails. That PD required the developer to construct 2 collectors. So the one that runs north-south, and as you note on the plat there, north is to your right generally. The north-south collector is Terra Drive, and then the east-west is Moons of Jupiter Trail. And that was, I know, that came out of discussions with our GIS department about extending the Jupiter name. If you recall from that project, there is an emergency gate between this development and the existing Jupiter Road or Jupiter Drive, but it's not going to be open for traffic. Jupiter's not built to handle that amount of traffic, so there's a gate there that'll be able to be opened by first responders in case they need to get in or people in this neighborhood need to depart. So since that street isn't going to continue, it was determined that the name shouldn't continue. So they kept it somewhat similar and came up with Moons of Jupiter Trail. So that is an approved name that fits within the 911 addressing system. Now, Moons of Jupiter Trail does provide the boundary between this phase, Phase 1 and Phase 2. So there will be some additional streets that intersect that street coming through. That Phase 2 will contain the part that has the emergency gate, so that section isn't in this phase. They are adding trails and open space with this phase, and you see on the lower right-hand corner, that green highlighted area. Most of that's floodplain. It was also highlighted in the PD that that was going to be open space. There's a little bit more that would come with Phase 2, but there are some trails that will be constructed with this phase. P&Z is the final approval authority. They're not requested, and no exceptions have been identified. And this phase does very closely match the preliminary plat. We had to fine-tune some lot sizes just to make sure they were compliant with the base zoning. So this is the thoroughfare plan slide. That shows, on the left is their sidewalk and trail and streetlight exhibits. It's pretty easy to see that red squiggly line is that trail through the green space. And then you can see on the site plan, it was a bright green dashed line are the trails. So you can see where there's some trails in this phase and the future phase and how those collectors crisscross the property. A little bit harder to see on that, but it's in your packet, are the sidewalks to be constructed both by the developer and by the builders. That's an exhibit. You may start seeing more of those. It's a practice that we're putting into use to show which sidewalks are going to be built by the developer when they lay in the initial streets, and other sidewalks that'll follow later when the homes are built. It doesn't make sense to build a sidewalk to a lot with nothing on it and then have the builder come in with skid steers, dump trucks, concrete trucks, and tear up that sidewalk only to have to rebuild it. So this clarifies those are the sidewalks that'll come later as each builder constructs their piece along their blocks. Those sidewalks will be built out incrementally. So we do have some site photos. On that upper left, that's that existing duplex neighborhood where Moons of Jupiter Trail is going to punch out right around that area where that bridge or where that little driveway apron is right now. I didn't get out there and measure it. I think it's going to be a little bit off to the side, but it's in that area. And of course, upper right-hand corner, we're looking down at Chair Rhodes' favorite roadway CIP project, due to be open in about a month and a half, 2 months, pretty close.
Next year.
And then, of course, on the bottom two images, you see the golf course, country club across Kegley Road. Here's some views of the floodplain and the creek. This is from Blue Star Boulevard that runs into that duplex and got a view of the cropland that's there now, but that'll be a good portion of this phase will be out in that plowed area that you see. And then there's the beginning of the work zone facing south on Kegley.
Now, those top pictures, was that the Pepper Creek green area? Is that what we were looking at? or-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes down, I'll go back to, you can see where there's a couple creek channels and then it all kind of merges. But when you get out there, it's braided, to use a geography term. So, I mean, to be honest, it should be a nice, interesting trail because there's going to be you can get out in the bushes, do some exploring,
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
find some ticks. Hopefully don't find the poison
Yeah,
ivy.
I've shot several of them, so hey.
But you said that they have a plan to connect that trail possibly to Pepper Creek out off of. what
And
that-
that's, yes, sir, that's the intent. That was part of the discussion. The same engineer we work with for the villages on Pepper Creek, for example, and that, the apartment complex, there's a trail easement just south of Adams. There's been a couple other projects that have come through, and each one we've made sure that there's an easement, an alignment, a facility where that trail can eventually connect to the south. So that is top of our mind.
So, Jason, I need to ask a couple of questions. First, does this thoroughfare, or this approval include Hogan, anything doing with Hogan Road right now?
No, sir.
Okay, because I own the property that Hogan Road would go on.
Yes.
Yeah, I wished. So that's first question. Second question, am I able to vote on this, or is this too close, Mr. Attorney?
Good question.
I own two lots, two properties on there. on this road?
It's more of a ministerial thing, so it probably doesn't affect you. I think you'd have an issue if it was a zoning case, but since it's a plat and they're ministerial, I don't see quite the same issue.
Okay. And last question, is there one road coming onto Kegley or two roads that would be built? Ultimately, eventually be three with Hogan.
Correct. So with this phase is just the one that pretty much runs down the center of that image. And you see that white.
Next to the duplexes, or near the
Correct.
duplexes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that white section, that's that part, at that point, next down from being a collector back to a local street, that's where that emergency gate would be. So, long-term preliminary plat and zoning site plan, there will be these two collectors onto Kegley. Once that property to the south built, and I remember we had some great discussions during the initial rezoning, because there was two zonings, one got withdrawn and then they scoped it down. You know,
There's a lot of people here
a lot
for
of
that one.
people, yep. You and Mr. Martin, there was a lot of discussion about Hogan. We've looked at Hogan and whether it should have been moved, what's it gonna eventually connect to? Can you get across south of Wildflower out to the loop? Since those properties haven't come in as development, we don't have enough of a justification to move Hogan right now. With these ones, we've got something on paper that's been approved, both zoning and the preliminary, and about to be the first final plat. This will be one of the last ones where, and I've got thoroughfare plan amendment package started for this one and another plat that was recently approved. This will be one of the fewer, where we do the older way, where we have the zoning and then we bring forward the thoroughfare. So you'll see this again in the next month or so, because we're bringing forward some another thoroughfare plan amendments to match this, since the final plat is in. But at this point, we don't have a plan or don't have, I can say, enough confidence that there's reason to shift that Hogan Road alignment, so we'll keep it on there as a conceptual alignment for the time being. If properties come in from the south, we'll talk about it. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Was this mailed out to anybody in that area, or no?
Not for the
this one?
plat, no, sir.
No, the
It's
plat
just plat.
isn't.
Okay.
My question about the gate, do we know when that would be installed?
When phase two gets built.
Okay.
Yep.
My only thing is my worry about, say Kegley doesn't open up in 2 months and they start moving dirt. All those trucks coming off 35 are gonna go down Old Waco and down Jupiter into this development.
Yeah.
How can we stop them from destroying that road by doing that with trucks full of dirt?
So the answer, my first answer, you got me on the spot. Get that
Sorry,
gate,
sorry.
no, it's a perfectly valid question.
The road won't be done in 2 months. so-
Right. Get that gate in first. Since the road doesn't connect, the map, Google Maps and stuff is not gonna route people that direction, because there's no road for them to connect to.
They'll come down Kegley to get in there somehow.
Yeah.
That's fine, that's
But-
the only thing I want to avoid happening, especially I saw the city just redid the entrances to all those roads off Old Waco, so it's nice and fresh. I just really hate for that to just get
Yeah.
completely destroyed, right when they start moving dirt.
And I want to say right now, and there should be a sign, it may have been moved because of construction, there should be a sign marking Jupiter's a dead-end road, because it doesn't have an outlet. Not that,
If
not
there's a way to
that,
get through there, they don't care if
I
it's
know
dead
that,
end.
not that knuckleheads won't do knucklehead things. So my last response is, I promise you, I'll pass that concern off to the engineer and the developer to say, look, just tell your contractors.
I mean, not much we can do, I just, if we can,
Yeah, absolutely.
try to.
No,
How many
totally agree.
lots are on this?
So on the preliminary, there's 300, there's 137 on this phase, which with the one improved entrance is compliant. I think I might have skipped over that.
Yeah, that was my next
Yeah,
question, was,
yeah.
is it compliant?
Yes.
And on second to that question is, if they go into phase two and still only have one road in,
Mm-hmm.
do they stay in compliance
No, they
When do
have
we-
to get that second entrance out.
from, which is the first, the Tanglehead?
The one
Uh,
next
the-
to the duplexes.
If
And
you
then-
wanna, here, I'll,
Tanglehead is the second one.
this will be the first
Right,
one,
first one.
Tanglehead will be the second one.
So they will have to
So they will
put
have
that
to-
in before they go into phase 2.
Correct. It would have to get platted with phase 2.
Yeah.
So they would have to dedicate that right away, construct that street. And Derek Marshall, when he was one of the commissioners, when it went through the rezoning, there's a condition that says that, you know, all the lots had to have access to both, so you're not just saying, oh yeah, we've got 2 entrances, but you can't get there from here, which is why you got this secondary
Right.
collector running north, so that the traffic has options and they're not getting bottlenecked.
And do they own that property there?
Yes.
All the way
They
out- all the way out to
originally-
Kegley?
Yeah, they originally, this was part of the first zoning package. They had proposed this area and this area as future townhouses to have a little bit more density. That got pulled out.
Okay.
It was a bigger plan development. There was a lot going on with it, and folks got sticker shock.
Yeah.
It was a little bit too much to
As
digest.
long as they own it, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy, that's hard to read this one, but I'm good. Let's see, commissioners, are any other questions or comments? If there are no more questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve item FY-25-36 as presented, sorry.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Commissioner Commissioner Carney and a second by Commissioner Walker. Can we call for a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Commissioner Longino.
Aye.
Commissioner Agee.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jurassic.
Aye.
Chair Rhodes.
No, because I live there, so it's good.
The vote is 7 ayes, 1 nay. The motion carries.
Anyway, anybody want to buy any property? I've got it. All right. Next one is item number 6, FY 25-41-PLT. Consider and take action on the final plat of Econkoff Addition, a 0.251 acre, 4-lot, 1-block residential subdivision, being a replat of the south 1/2 of Lot 2 of the north 1/2 of Lot 3 of the Crestview Addition, situated in the Maximo Moreno Survey at Abstract 14, City of Temple, Bell County, Texas, address as 709 and 711 South 28th Street. This case will be presented by planner Dan, and I can't say your last name.
Shalchi.
Shalchi, there we go. I'll get better. Thanks.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So this plat right here, it's 2 lots. The developer wants to convert it from 2 lots to 4 lots to build single-family attached homes. Currently, the property is 0.251 acres with two lots, residential subdivision, and this is where they plan on converting these 2 lots, 709 and 711, into 4 lots. Each lot is equally divided, roughly about 26 by 104 feet, so it meets the code standards. The owner and developer agreed to pay the park fees per $225 per dwelling unit, so that's times 4. It's not in a flood zone, and it's in a 2-family 2F zoning, so the single-family attached does meet the criteria of that zoning, and it's currently located in the neighborhood planning district of Crestview. This, as you can see in the top right corner, it's smack dab in the middle of the loop in the city on South 28th Street. Now, in this area, there's multiple zonings across the area, from ag, SF2, general retail. But as you can see, some of the general retail also has housing development located in it. But this is a 2-family dwelling, respectively, this property, and it meets the intent and characters of the Comprehensive Plan 2020 and the future land use plan for urban residential. Now, this is the plat, as you can see, as you zoom in to the top right. Those are the two lots, 709, 711. And if you move to the left is the final plat. As you can see, they're pretty narrow, but they meet the code at 26 feet, 25 feet, so they meet it about 1 foot over. And in length is 100 feet, and they meet it by 104 feet to meet those single-family attached homes. The topography, no issues regarding it, given the fact that it's not in a flood zone. And they have two collector streets, neighborhood collectors to the east and the west. Water and sewer, 6-inch lines, no issues with capacity with building or replatting to 4 lots and putting those dwellings in there, single family attached. So it won't be a capacity issue. And as you can see, E Avenue is a major arterial with neighborhood collectors to the east and west of 28th Street. Adding those four dwellings would not increase capacity of traffic down there to a level of congestion that makes it undrivable. Staff recommends approval, 709, 711 South 28th Street, final plat, Icon Loft addition for meeting UDC subdivisional standards. Penny, any questions?
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments regarding this?
Yeah, is it 2 separate duplexes or is it a quadplex that they're intending?
2 separate duplexes at this time.
Okay, driveways in the front?
Correct.
And
And
Brian,
so-
does this follow in where Love, since she left, Love Where You Build, is there anything we could suggest to them or no?
We've suggested to these particular builders a number of times they're doing a lot, so they're very aware and they've got their own plans. So it's suggest yes, require no.
We're not at that point yet, so.
Well, even.
And it wouldn't even fall in this area.
Even when the overlay is approved, we still wouldn't require them to use our plans. We would just have additional standards tied to it.
Got it. Thank you.
Who's the applicant?
Mr. Eichenhoff.
Legacy. Yeah,
And why are they needing to divide this into 4 lots? If it's zone 2 family, they can build a duplex on a single lot. Why the need to bust this into 4?
I think it's due to the fact that there's a minimum lot width for single-family attached of 25 feet. So you do the math, that's 50 for each of those. You have a duplex, it's a minimum lot width of 60. So
Okay.
does
10 more feet.
that completely make sense?
No,
By
they're
adding a line down the middle? No, but that's just the way it is.
circumventing
And this
what
would
they're
allow them
after.
to sell them as separate units as well, right?
Yeah. and
So
can
they
be
may
sold
just-
as separate units.
Yeah.
So in theory, it could increase home ownership, but I don't know their plans. That, of course, that's
Not-
only if they.
not right there, it
sell
won't.
units.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Can we, is it HUD or low-income housing? Do we know? Does it matter?
No, it's not. I mean, it's market rate.
Okay.
And this is just a plat, but
Flat.
I mean, at the planning stages, would you require them to put, like, if they wanted to make them 4 individual units to sell? Would you make them put a,
We can't, I mean, we don't get into that kind of renter versus homeowner, owner occupied.
I couldn't remember, okay,
I mean, could we, if it was, but it's already zoned.
gotcha.
So, I mean, could we? Perhaps. Would we? Probably not.
Okay. All right, with that said, any more questions or comments?
So just to be clear, this is just making it allowable to put a duplex on 2 lots because we couldn't on just the one.
One.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Okay. If there are no more questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve FY 25-41 PLT.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Morales and a second by Commissioner Carney. Can we call for a vote?
Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker. Aye. Commissioner Carney.
Aye.
Commissioner Longino.
Nay.
Commissioner Agee.
Aye.
Vice Chair Jurasik.
Aye.
Chair Rhodes.
Aye.
The vote is 6 ayes. Oh, Chair Krause, or former, Commissioner Krause.
Nay.
Vote is 6 ayes, 2 nays. The motion carries.
Thank you. Is there any other further business for tonight? Mr. Deckman.
Agenda item, just a public service announcement that there was a fatality on I-35 southbound near Midway.
Yep.
So I think the road is still locked. A person was attempting to cross the highway on foot, so here's your traffic safety, public service announcement. Be careful out there, y'all.
All right, I'm not done either.
Okay,
So,
Mr. Chandler.
all right, especially since we have a new commissioner, we're training him. Part of it is to remind those of you that voted no, that if it's a subdivision plat, really the only reason you should be voting no is if you disagree that we are bringing something forward that you think doesn't meet code. We're bringing it forward saying it meets code.
I get it.
And so
Let's
if
take
you
them
say
all.
no,
Yeah.
you should reference what code item we have missed. This is a plat. This is not zoning.
Sorry.
You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, that doesn't matter.
But
But
I-
you're obligated to approve it if it meets code. So,
Can we change?
no, just next time.
Is there a violation of code in trying to circumvent the rules by adjusting your lot size?
No. I mean, if
And
so,
Brian, you know
we
on
would've told
Kegley
you.
why I was doing mine, but I mean, at
Yeah,
the end of the day, I get it.
Understood. So it's not a problem today, 6-2. If it were
Oh, that,
disapproved.
you're talking about the second one or
I'm
both?
talking about
of them?
this one.
This one we just
It's
did.
most recent.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
It's not a problem today, but if it had been disapproved, that would be a problem.
Understood.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
And Kegley, I just opened my mouth, so there you go. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you. At 6:53. I'm the one that needed water, not you. Go.